What's up, y'all? Thanks for checking out Dive Bots. Come dive with me as I make my luckiest find yet, this horseshoe. I'm gonna show you how I found it, what's special about it, and maybe you can help me solve a mystery related to this horseshoe. And before we get too far, I just want to give a quick shout out. I know some of DiveBot's biggest young fans are out there watching today. What's up, Landis, Zeke, Colton, Johnny, and of course, Marty. I really hope y'all enjoy this one. So we're about 15 feet deep here on the north shore of Crystal Lake. And I'm gonna give you my #1 tip for driving an underwater drone here, which is how I found this horseshoe. And it is very simple, it's to go slow. If you ever get to drive an underwater drone, you're gonna be tempted to get down there and go really fast. You wanna find these huge structures or sunken boats, cool things like that. But if you do that, you're gonna miss awesome things like this horseshoe, because as you can see, it was almost completely buried in the sand here. And if I was going too fast, I would have totally missed it. The other reasons you want to go slow is because underwater drones use auto-focusing cameras most of the time. And if you go too fast, they won't focus very well. And you're also going to scare away all of the wildlife, like the cool fish and turtles and awesome things you get to see underwater. If you go slow, they won't be afraid of it and you'll get way better shots with the underwater drone. Crystal Lake was used for ice harvesting in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and they used these huge draft horses to plow the ice off, get the snow off the ice. Then they would scrape the ice so it's nice and smooth, and then they would make grid lines on the ice for these ice cakes that they would cut. And then these horses also pulled the ice in these wagons and sleighs, and even helped operate some of the machinery as far as getting the ice into the ice houses. So the horses were really critical for the ice harvesting industry. As you can see here, I'm pulling up the horseshoe. You see my huge smile there. I'm super pumped because I knew about these horses and I wanted to find one of these horseshoes for quite some time. But these ice harvesting horses were big draft horses. They could weigh up to 1,400 pounds, and they were actually living just east of the lake on Lakeland Farm. And for those of you that don't know what Lakeland Farm is, it's the Dole Mansion. So Lakeland Farm was a huge 1,000-acre complex that encompassed the whole lake and everything around it, including the Dole Mansion. And there were massive stables there where they housed both race horses and these ice harvesting horses. They could have up to 200 horses on this farm at any given time. I'm gonna show you an awesome old photo I found in a newspaper of some of the buildings on Lakeland Farm over on the Dole Mansion property there. That's pretty crazy and cool to see. I can't believe it was there. So Dole, who built the mansion, originally took an interest in these horses, and he built a track there and all these massive stables. And I'm gonna show you a little more about this horseshoe right now. So here it is. This is upside down. Actually, this is how the horse would wear it, right side up here, and this is the front facing you there. So what you can see here, on the bottom here and on the back side of the bottom here, these are special things that not every horseshoe had to grip the ice and snow so the horse doesn't slip. And normally you can't tell what foot a horseshoe was on. I'm not a horse expert, but I did do some research, and it turns out that these draft horses would tend to wear a certain side of their horseshoe faster than the others. Normally, if a horseshoe's put on right, it would wear pretty evenly, but because of the heavy loads they were pulling, they would tend to wear on their back feet on the outside of it faster. So that would mean, if that's true, this is most likely from the back left foot of a draft horse from the ice harvesting days on Crystal Lake. Okay, so if we want to put a date on this horseshoe, we're going to have to look at the type of metal it was made from. And you guys can see all these layers here stacked up looking like a delicious pastry. Well, don't get too hungry, because that is a telltale sign that this horseshoe was made of wrought iron. And that means it was most likely forged by a blacksmith or farrier in the 1800s, because after that, steel became the metal of choice for horseshoes. The other cool thing about this horseshoe is you can see there's actually still 7 nails in it out of the original 8. So those are forged nails that would have been made by a blacksmith. especially for the horseshoe. How the horse lost this shoe, we don't know. Sometimes these horses fell through the ice, but they were always rescued. They were so valuable and important to the ice harvesting trade that they had special methods for getting them out of the ice. They had ways to calm them down, and they would put a rope on it and use other horses to get that horse back out of the water once it was calm, warm it back up, and make sure it was all safe and protected so that horse could keep working. The last cool thing I'm gonna show you is the mystery that you guys can help me solve, and it's right here on the horseshoe. See if we can get a good shot of it there, hopefully. Right there, okay. Check that out. That is a maker's mark. So that would have been put there by the blacksmith. So we know that this was made over on Lakeland Farm, but they were so busy there and there were so many horseshoes that there wasn't just one blacksmith making them. They would bring blacksmiths in all the way from Chicago to fit these horses with shoes for the winter, because they would have to get them ready quickly for the ice harvest. And there were so many horseshoes needed that they had to have a whole army of people making sure these horses were ready to go. Maybe you guys can all help with some detective work and help me solve that mystery. I found a bunch of other stuff on the same dive. In this photo here, you'll see this horseshoe sitting on top of one of the other objects I found. I thought it was gonna be like just an old mushroom anchor or something like that, but it wasn't. It was something way cooler, and we're gonna show you on one of our upcoming Dive Bots episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Dive Bots. It helps us out a lot. Hit that share button so everybody else can check out Dive Bots and see what we're doing out here on Crystal Lake, preserving the history, and we'll see you guys out on the lake.